Hello everybody, I've been doing a lot of LXD container work lately, and I've come up to the issue of whether it's a privileged container or not. Privileged means you can do a bunch of things as if you were admin and root while in a container up on your higher level operating systems and the ziggurat of OSs. The trick is, as you go down in layers, you actually are less privileged. You're isolated from real system stuff. So that's the default mode. And it turns out that if you see security.privilege : true, when you do this little command here, then you are in privilege mode. And if you don't see it, then you're not. So I'm interested in this. And anyone who's following along with me knows that I'm in favor of leaving these little icons out on your desktop that let you double click for a quick login directly to the container, right? This is inside the container, but you don't want to be inside the container. You got to be one level up to the operating system that's managing the container. So you just hit exit. And now we're on a Windows subsystem for Linux instead of LXD. And from here, we can type a command like that in, and we got to give it the container name, which, as you'll recall, I can show you from LXC, say, hyphen, no, it's not even hyphen, it's just LS, that I've got this Jupyter container running. That's always where it's running now, right? Anyone who's followed me has seen me go through a number of different container names, but now I'm sort of bottling it, right? Once you're ready, you bottle it, and when I bottled it, I settled on the name Jupyter for my main container that does all my work because it hosts a Jupyter server. So LXC config show expanded Jupyter. Boom. And I guess I'll make it a little bit smaller so that you can see that everything in this command is on the screen. Almost. I got to go a little smaller. Hey, there's the command. There is the cursor. So I guess I can have to go one smaller still. Sorry about the readability. But there's the command. There's the blinking cursor. So we got just about everything showing. And this roughly, with these indents, roughly follows YAML, right? There's indented stuff. And this web page over here is saying you got to look for security.privileged : true. And I do not think I'm seeing that here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but going down from my command, it's just not one of these. So the default, which is to run in unprivileged mode, is in fact the case. It's running in unprivileged mode. Now, this has caused me a fair amount of trouble in things where, like SSH keys, right? Your keys to do a git clone and stuff. I have had unique challenges because my user IDs under the container are different than my user IDs outside the container. They're offset, they're shifted, such as it were. And I want to get them the same, and I actually did the setup work, and I thought I'd bring you along for the ride as I check it. So I'm going to show you the setup work. I'm going to go into a different terminal, which drops me right into my repos location. I can cd into LXDWin, ls. And I had just edited this file here, install.sh, vim install.sh, and I put this line in, right? When things start to get configured, this is after Jupyter is installed, right? No, it's not after Jupyter is installed. It's after the Jupyter container is created. LXC launch, Ubuntu 20.04, name it Jupyter. And then the very next thing I do is do a config command here to set it to privileged mode, right? So that is now in the repo. I actually pushed it up. I did a git push, so it's up there like that, but I have not tested it yet. So this is something that I need to test in all due haste. And how do we test it? This is really interesting because it is truly running. If I were to go into there, Jupyter is running, it's being hosted. These terminals here can let you verify that fact. I did an exit to get out of it, but I could just as easily LXC. Oh, that whole logging command. I forget even how to do it now. I've been using these double clicks from my desktop for so much. But there it is as far as it running, right? So it's there, it's active, yet I'm going to nuke it. How do we nuke it? We go into just a plain old PowerShell. I had done the equivalent of git cloning this repo down from GitHub. I created it, so I didn't really have to clone it. It's in my repos directory. cd repos ls. One of the repos there is LXD win, cd LXD win. If you git clone it, you'll have an LXD win as well. ls. I'm going in through PowerShell, which is how I'm going to trigger off the script. You could do it from bash. You can do it from desktop just as well, double clicking the icon. But doing it from here will install all the dependencies that are defined in what is that? Requirements.txt. So if you vim and you look at requirements.txt, oops. I don't even have Vim. This is PowerShell, silly me. I should probably get Vim on PowerShell. That's an interesting thing. People do that with Chocolate or WS, whatever. I don't know. There's these different things now that are trying to be Windows software repos, trying to be Debian, trying to be Red Hat Package Manager. Just doesn't work well. It doesn't work for me. Maybe it works well, but it doesn't work for me on Windows. This stuff is synonymous with a Linux environment. So anyway, before I keep rambling, // for current directory, install .bat, chase the rabbit, and this basically nukes my whole install. But part of the point is it's no problem to nuke a whole install because everything that's your own work is in a location that's mapped outside of the container. It's actually mapped to is a Windows directory. It's a native Windows directory that's mapped into the container, right? Repos. So you don't ever have to worry about losing any of your work. The only things you'll ever lose when you do this is stuff that you've pip installed and stuff that you've apt installed, right? So packages, third-party installed packages. But so what? You can always reinstall them. Hey, look at that. So 116 need to be upgraded. This is the upgrade to the WSL instance of Linux. So when you install Ubuntu 18.04 under WSL, it's fairly out of date. It needs a bit to be updated on the second round of the updates, apt update or apt upgrade. So it's apt update, then it's apt upgrade, and this does all of that. It does it all automatically. So whenever you run my script to get a containerized Jupyter server on your Windows system, it'll install for the time being a Ubuntu 18.04 as the LXD host, which is what you're seeing here. So there's the actual install, which is LXD launch an image. Once the image is on your machine, all the commands become LXC commands. Using LXC, you can reach down into that now installed Ubuntu instance and do different commands. Some of those commands I'm doing here are an apt update, which updates the list of new available software without updating it. Strange names for these things. So an apt update updates your software repo to know what can be upgraded. And then an apt upgrade actually performs the upgrade. And that's what you're actually seeing here. That is a Linux host operating system running directly on WSL, Windows Subsystem for Linux, whose purpose, in my opinion, is to be a host to yet another Linux, a containerized Linux. You might be like, well, it's containerized. It's Windows Subsystem for Linux. But it's strange. and it's got weirdness, and the stuff you're learning is not timeless. It's Microsoft slap on the golden handcuffs. So long as you stick with Microsoft and you learn to do things our way, you'll be fine. But the truth is, if you don't stick with Microsoft and you learn to do it the generic Linux way, you will be even more fine. So there, you see it's done. Now I add systemd. Systemd is something that Microsoft is adding now, but it's on the only Windows 11, only on the insider track. But you can get systemd installed and then subsequently LXD, as you see here, whether you're on Windows 10, Windows 11, it doesn't matter. The free and open source world has stepped in and said, if Microsoft won't do it, we'll do it. So Microsoft is now doing it, but it's doing it in kind of an elitist, inaccessible way. It has to be Windows 11. You have to be on the developer track. Microsoft Insider program, pshaw. I don't need to wait. I don't need to be on Windows 11 unstable for my everyday work environment. I'll stick with Windows 10, and I'll use what the free and open source community has provided to me as a way to do the kind of work I want to do today, now, on Windows 10, without being on the Insider program. And a little bit of a timeout here that I'm not thrilled about, but you can see that, after systemd is installed, then LXD is installed. And once LXD is installed, look, Jupyter container doesn't, creating Jupyter, right? This is just pulling it down, right? So this is a typical web hiccup of file accessibility. It says it retrieved 100% of it. I don't think I locked up the terminal. No, backspace doesn't free it. Sometimes you hit the keyboard by accident. So what's going on now? I hope this video does not become wasted. Just sitting there, are you? Control C. Interrupt 2 more times to force. Isn't that interesting? Really? All right. You know what? I have like unlimited YouTube recording time, and I'm trying to give the genuine, unedited experience. Oh, look. Yeah. All right. One more time. Just force that to quit. Now I'm completely without Jupyter. You see, the risk of doing this is like, that's my main dev platform. If I nuke that in my little experimental attempts, and maybe that was the command. Maybe that was the new thing, right? Because I put a command in there to run in privileged mode, and now all this this strangeness right at that point. Yeah, right. So I'm putting 2 and 2 together. What terrible performance. Yeah, this is trying now to log into that. It couldn't because it couldn't go. No, it's not. That's just a normal PowerShell. All right. WSL shutdown, in case there's any question about whether things are running out of control behind my back or not. WSL shutdown will take care of that. CD repos, CD LXD win, and then we run install.bat. Oh, I guess you got to do, see, it's not found, so sometimes you got to do // for it to know to look in the directory you're in. Chase the rabbit. One more time. And if it fails at the same exact spot, maybe I just won't even push up this video. I'll certainly have to take that edit out of the repo and commit and re-push it up so it doesn't lock up at that step for other people. This unregistering step, unregistered, it deletes the old 18.04. Yeah, there's no problem with WSL installing a Linux. That's 18.04 going on there with a repo update. And here's the repo upgrade. It's not the repo upgrade, it's a local machine software upgrade. It's a repo update, and then the local machine software upgrade. While that's going on, right, I can just talk about this stuff as well. I can log into another guy over here, and I can CD around that stuff and give you a little tour, show you what it might get locked up on, right? So as if I were starting the script, CD into repos, CD into LXD win, ls to see the files there. I don't have Vim over here, maybe less. Less install.bat. No, I don't even have less. How can you even view a file? And just open this location. Explorer. No, that's a Unix thing. Yeah, I guess that's the right idea, though. I just open an Explorer to that location, right? That's all I'm trying to do. Repos, LX, win. Right, this is still going on. It's still doing that update, so you're not missing anything over here. And at least this way, I can show you install bat by edit. Yeah, there it is in Notebook, right? That's a good way to do it. That's one of the two files, or we chase the rabbit. And then the other of the two files is install.sh, which also I will edit. Now I can show you the early phase and the late phase parts of the install. This one with the rabbit is early phase. And then after a while, it just hands over control to the late phase part. That's fetching install.sh. Changing the permissions and running it, right? This is where control is handed off to the second phase of the install. Okay, so let's see if it gets past there. Installing systemd installed. This is where it had trouble installing LXD now. Creating the Jupyter container. Got up to 100%. And it locked up right here. And that may be because of the latest change I made, which that's in the first part of the install. There's creating, the Python env. Oh, it's no text for I don't type that message out. Creating Jupyter container. It does that. Retrieving the image, Jupyter container, start your container. So, creating Jupyter, starting Jupyter. It got past that point. This is very, very nice, ladies and gentlemen. I may not have introduced the problem I thought. It might have just been a web hiccup. And everything's content, right? Follow along, even as, most people hide this stuff. Most people. Okay, and so now you see the update and the upgrade occurring on the next ziggurat level down. It's no longer Ubuntu 18.04 that's hosting LXD. It's Ubuntu 20.04 that's being hosted by 18.04. I do some funny little things like installing Figlet so that I can put these big banners on that, right? I can't use the Figlet that was installed in the upper version. I have to install Figlet in the lower version so that I can do some big banners at you and show you what's happening during this server build process. It's really a server build process. So much of what's valuable these days in creating these Noah's Ark of technology, moving your stuff around, is not a particular container, though the Docker people would have you believe that, right? Here's a special container that we sprinkled the magic fairy dust into. Use it exactly as we provide it to you, and the world will be good. Well, that's the Docker way. The LXD way is, well, here's a full working Linux system. Do with it as you will. And how do you create a full working Linux system? Well, with a server build script, and that's what you see running here. There's a Python 3.10 being installed. Once Python 3.10 is installed, we actually create a virtual environment for it so that everything having to do with Python 3.10 is isolated into its own directory. So all the pip installs go into its own directory, that kind of thing. All the right levels of isolation creates a robust system, a system that only takes small tweaks for it to stay working over the years, for it to be a running instance working on your behalf over the years. These are the optional installs. Fuzzy Wuzzy, that's new, right? The Levenstein libraries for nearness of word detection, stuff like that. Chrome. This will probably take as long as all the rest of the steps, but when this is happening, what's happening is that the requirements.txt is being restored. It's being unfrozen, right? This is an unfreeze. This is a pip install from a requirements.txt file. Now remember, I'm going to have Linux graphics, but I'm going to have Linux graphics because I did a little setup work ahead of time to create an X Windows server here. VXCSRV is running. Listening on display port 1 for messages that get sent up from the Windows subsystem. And you have Linux graphics. You don't have to be on Windows 11. Windows 11 would arguably have higher performance Linux graphics, but for all the work I've been doing lately, and I've been doing a fair amount of work, let me tell you, I'm doing Chrome automation and scraping all the time. All the kind of stuff I talk about on my videos and then rarely actually show you, well, it's because I do it for work. But it's also my pastime. It's also my after work activity. And it's also SEO in a bottle, right? I've created Pipulade in the past and MLSEO and things like it. Now I'm creating the actual platform that all of this stuff can run on. And that includes Chrome automation, graphics and all. I've done some wonderful projects lately with Chrome automation. With it actually being Linux Chrome is what I'm saying, right? Linux Chrome with Linux graphics that you can switch to headless by just changing a value and moving it to an actual automated environment, because everything I do here can also be done off my laptop, right? I've been talking about that a little bit recently because I keep these two icons which bring up nearly identical environments. This is a Linux container on my laptop, and this is a nearly identical Linux container on my home network attached storage device, my NAS. And when you have identical systems like that on your laptop and somewhere else running 24/7, you can do a lot of sort of rigorous experimentation, stuff you wouldn't want to do on your production server. So your laptop, your local Windows server, no, your local Windows laptop becomes a much more viable Linux test server. You know, you got your production machine, and then you got your development, your dev machine, your staging machine. And very traditionally, your dev and your staging machines have not been your local Windows laptop. No matter how powerful it is, the environments have not been conducive towards genuine Linux work on a Windows laptop. You would have to do other things, jump through a lot of hoops. It looks like I'm jumping through hoops here. The hoops are becoming less to jump through because Microsoft's taken up much of the burden. You would have to run a genuine, just on the metal Linux laptop. That's possible. And there it is. It reached the end, right? Once it reaches the end like that, we should be able to go over here and log into it with this icon. I've shown you in other videos how to make one of these icons to connect into a local Linux container. This is not just WSL, mind you. How can I show you that it's not WSL? Well, if I were to hit exit, that is WSL there. I'm one level deeper, right? But I have my icon rigged so I don't have to deal with that one level deeper. It just drops me directly into the container. And screen-ls will show me that the Jupyter server is running. With the Jupyter server running, you know that you can just go to your desktop and double-click this other icon that I showed you how to make. It's an actual Edge app icon, but so long as Jupyter's there running in the background, you just go and you log in. Hopefully nothing proprietary comes up. I might have to close some tabs from my latest work. I don't think I'll be giving away too much. It's a SERPs document. I will close that. You don't need to see that. And bring up the folders. These are my repos. And there you have it. Yeah, I guess I wanted to see whether we were running in privileged mode or not. That was a big part of the picture. This is the end of the install script. That's done. Hit enter. It returns the console back. Yeah, and I can do it from a window like this. I've got my instructions. It might even be in my command line history. No, it's other stuff. All right, so that was in Windows where it was showing that. If you see security.privilege : true, then you are in privilege mode. And if you don't see it, you're not. It didn't see it last time. So let's try that command again this time. Of course, LXC should be recognized. So I have a space in front of it. I'll close out of this one. I'll open this one. Should be the same exact thing. I don't see why not. Is not recognized as the name of a commandlet. LXC. Oh, yeah, that's right. You have to be under WSL. It's not that one. You have to go in all the way and then one level up. I can show you the other way to do this. But now I see the forward slashes. That shows us we're in WSL. Now one more try. Okay. shrink it down so I can see more of my screen. And I had made a command to try and put this in privileged mode. The whole point here is that I want it to be in privileged mode, and I'm following this instruction on the website to put the command in so that if we see security privilege true here, so what we're looking for is security privileged true. There it is. Success. This should allow things that were not normally allowed. I should be, when I go in all the way, which again is just double clicking this, I'm in my repos directory. It's going to drop me in my repos directory. I can ls it, and I can ls-la. And oftentimes, yep, see these nobody no groups? This is because the user IDs and stuff don't align to known user IDs for most things. And some do. Some that I have created from scratch here, like if I make a directory, make dir foo, making it under this context, my foo directory is now going, hey, look, that's owned by nobody. And make me eat my words. But I should be able to do stuff with it. I should not be locked out of it, right? So cd into foo, ls, ls-la. It's nobody, no group all over the place. It's not Ubuntu, but it should be more privileged. The big test of privilege is cd ... cd ... one more time, ls, ls-la. I have problems with the .ssh directory. It lets me do almost nothing, especially not loosen the permissions enough to do stuff, right? So write and execute. So any sort of chmod on .ssh, chmod recursive on .ssh. Oh, but the file mask 600 is a good one to use on it. Operation not permitted, understandable, but I was not even able to sudo that. See that? Still permission denied. But I have been able to elevate my permission now of the system to a privileged container, and I'm optimistic that I'm going to be able to work this out, because when I some of the things I want to do in the script is that when you're in that repos directory, I want to drop some repos in there with the git clone, perhaps using an account that I make for exactly that purpose, so that you can step in and take over with some cloned local repos, especially on my repositories, mlseo and OAuth. I don't want to actually pip install. They could be pip installed, right? Pip install mlseo. That's something that I could put in the requirements.txt, but I really don't want to, because I want these containers to be the development environment for mlseo, so that it's pip installed locally. In fact, see this? I'll let that finish because, like, I guess I started it and I ought to. Doop, 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 doop. Of course, I picked the one thing with like the largest number of dependencies and stuff. And I'm just going to turn right around and pip uninstall mlseo. Because when you do that, you can install stuff locally. cd mlseo. Not a lot of people know this, but you can pip install for, I guess, experimental mode, something like that, from your current directory. That's pip installed as well, but after a git clone to a local directory, and now you can continue to upgrade your software locally, you see. And, git push it occasionally, pip release it occasionally, and have the flexibility of local development within an easily accessible directory instead of in all buried down deep. I'll show you another thing a lot of people don't know. When all your pip installs go somewhere, the software goes somewhere, and you wonder, well, where does it go? The mystery is not so deep when you're using virtual envs. So this is my home directory, tilde, right? cd tilde / brings you to your home directory. There's a directory in there called pi310, cd pi310 ls. And now you can start looking around here and you can see where your pip installs actually go. There's bin etc include lib. I think it's in lib, cd lib ls python 310 ls site packages ls, and there they are. There's all your pip installed stuff. Now it's not like you can go in here and just edit this stuff, right? You can technically, but not a good practice to edit things in your site packages location. So anything that exists on GitHub that you might pip install but would rather have a little more command over, locally, instead of git installing it, you can instead of pip installing it, you can git clone it and put it into your repos location and edit the files there, and then pip install it from your repo directory. I know it's a little bit out there, but instead of a pip install that drops it in here where you can't do much, you can get clone into a local location that you can easily get to without digging all the way down into site packages. And from there, any directory that you're in that has a git repo with pip installable stuff, I mean, not everything is pip installable. I've put stuff there that makes it pip installable. But whenever you have that kind of thing, you can pip install -e for experimental or something, or development, something like that, but then from your location. Now,